painting is this Flamingo painting, which is a fun, whimsical painting that actually was inspired by my book, Flamingo's Coloring Book. So the first thing we're going to do is take the template that's here and transfer it to this canvas. I'm using an 8x10 stretch canvas today. And then the colors that I'll be using, which are also listed on the step out sheet, including with this video, are Arteza in a Tube Indian Yellow for the legs. And then for the Flamingo, we'll be working with 3 different colors: rose pink, mulberry pink, which are both Arteza colors, and a folk art bright pink. The background of our canvas will be Calypso Sky, which is a folk art color. And then the grass will be Arteza Forest Green. Folk art Apple Orchard will make up the bottom part of the grass or the ground, and then folk art green. So we'll be alternating with these different greens. And then I also have white for the circles. We also be using some black to outline the flamingo. And then for the flamingo's beak, we'll be using gold, an Arteza product. So let's get started with transferring the template to the canvas. And I'm using a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 piece of paper for my template. And I'm just going to place it so that it is just so my flamingo's head kind of goes right to the top there. And then I'm going to put I'm using carbon paper for my transfer. I'm also going to make sure that I tape it down so it doesn't move. So I'm just going to take a couple of pieces of masking tape. And then we're going to be painting the flamingo, the grass, the ground, and then we're going to be doing the background last. I think the background is big enough that we don't have to worry. Here's the eye, which we'll be going over with the pink, so it doesn't really make a difference. And this carbon paper will allow it to transfer so that we'll be able to actually see it. This wing right here, I'm going to use it on my transfer, but we're going to paint right over that. Here's the beak. Here's the line that we need for that beak so we can divide it. And then as far as this section here, I am not worried about these lines that are in here, the feathers that are in there. But I do want to get this cluster of feathers because that'll be a light pink. The circles that we're going to be creating in the background will be created by using the caps of these craft paints. So you don't have to worry about drawing a circle or being able to draw a circle, because we're going to do a little bit of a cheat. Here's another thin blade of grass. I don't think I might have missed that on the original. Just kind of adding these pieces of grass. And now let's do the magical reveal. So let's just take a look and make sure that that we have all of our lines and that they're dark enough to be seen. Okay, so we've got everything we need here. So now let's take a look at our palette. The first thing we're going to do is use a pink. I already have some different colors on here, but we're going to use pink first. And the pink that I'm going to use for the body of the flamingo is bright pink. So let's get started with that. And then we'll also be using this lighter pink, which is considered rose pink, for that wing. So the first thing I'm going to do is outline my flamingo with this pink color. Excuse me. And then as I go around, so one of the reasons why I chose to not paint the whole background blue was so that this pink color would look completely pink. I just feel that if I had painted the whole thing blue, then we would have had a problem with the pink being on top of the blue and maybe having kind of a purple finish to it maybe. So I didn't want that to happen. So that's why I chose to just paint the flamingo first. And this flamingo, this pink paint for some reason is a little bit translucent. I don't really know why. Sometimes different colors can be translucent. So we may have to give it a little bit of another coat with this particular pink. So I am going around this section here because this part in the middle will actually be a lighter pink. And then this part right here, which is that outline, I'm not worried about that right now because that part will be, I'm going to go over that. So I'm just going to give this a coat with a bigger brush. And just filling in this whole area of this flamingo. I don't think that flamingos are this hot pink color in real life, but it's fun to kind of just create a flamingo that's more of a whimsical style flamingo, I guess. He's more cartoon looking, I think. Going to rinse that brush out, and I'm going to now move on to my rose paint color that's right here, and this is going to be for this section here, which is the other wing. I'm still using this small brush. I think I just tend to gravitate towards the little brush for some reason. Do you have a brush that you like to, you tend to always pick up? Kind of make that wing go off to the side a little bit. See how it just kind of comes off to that side part? The next thing I'm going to work on is the beak. And I thought it would be fun to use gold. So I'm going to paint this beak in with gold paint. And then for the bottom part of the beak, I'm going to take a little bit of Indian yellow, which is going to be for my legs. And I'm just going to mix it with my, if it comes out. There it is. Sometimes paint gets stuck in these tubes. I think that's probably the only disadvantage to paint in a tube. All right, so I'm just mixing a little bit of this Indian yellow with gold, just kind of giving it an Indian yellow shimmer. And you know, now that I think about it, I think I'll do the legs in an Indian gold and I'm sorry, Indian yellow and gold color. So here's the bottom part of the beak, just to kind of give it a little bit of a difference. And now I'm going to do my legs. And I'm using the same color. I think it's cool just so it has a little bit of a shimmer. Now I can still kind of see the line between my legs of the flamingo. So when we add our black lines with black paint, we'll be able to go back in with those. His foot just kind of comes down here, and of course, in typical bird fashion, it kind of goes off to the side. So we've got his legs. All right, now I'm going to set up my greens. So I'm going to be using Folk Art green, alternating with Forest Green by Arteza, and just alternating between the two with the blades of grass. Not really doing every other. But just kind of randomly placing some different blades of grass with different colors. Here's kind of a really thin blade of grass. I'll use this one with this green color. And then underneath the grass, I'll use Folk Art Apple Orchard. So those are my blades of grass. Now I'm going to use this forest green color. For this section. Here's another little blade of grass. Another one, and I'm going to, even though this is next to it for this last one, I'm still going to continue it. I do want to kind of put a little bit of a better tip on that one though. And then making this bottom section lighter with Folk Art Apple Green, actually. Apple Orchard it's called. But it's in the green family. So just outlining the underside of all of these. Again, I'm still using this small brush. I don't know what it is about the little brush, but I think you gravitate towards the brush that you feel that you have more control over. And then I am going to take a little bit of a bigger brush to do the sides, because I always want to make sure that I have my sides done. So just gonna kind of go off to the side on that one, off to the side on this one. Now this background is really blue, right? Good contrast between all of the colors that are here, between the greens and the pinks. And the first thing I want to do is outline around everything that's there. So as we're going to just we're going to do the blue first, then we'll do the white. So I've got Calypso Sky. One of the other ones that I kind of considered was this Apple Barrel Laguna, but I feel like it might be a little bit too dark. So we're going to go with Calypso Sky. And I'm going to take a small brush and I'm going to flip my painting upside down so that I can work around the painting rather than I want to shift the painting to where I want it to be rather than having to shift myself to where I need it to be. Just going to paint this area inside the where the head of the flamingo is, I guess. And now I'm going to outline around my flamingo. And you want to kind of rest your hand, just the meat of your hand, I guess, on the table or on the surface you're painting on. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush, just in case you're wondering if I'm going to paint the whole thing with this teeny tiny brush. It's like eating a meal with a big bowl of soup with a teeny tiny spoon. And now I'm going to do around this side and try to keep it in this position for as long as I can. Flip around. And come back up. This brush I'm using is called Pandafly, and it's a 10/0 size, so it's pretty small. It's got a kind of it's a nylon brush with a sable hair tip. So just pulling this blue down into the grassy area. And I will use my small brush to get into this small little section there. Continue around here. Into this area here. Really like the contrast between this apple orchard green and this Calypso Sky. This is a nice set. This folk art set of paint was a good blend of colors. This folk art paint is a little bit thicker than Apple Barrel, but not as thick as Arteza. Arteza craft paint can be extremely thick. So now I have the other side of the grass to the left of the painting. I could have flipped it, but don't be afraid to flip the painting around so that it's easy for you to navigate and be able to reach whatever you need to reach. Coming around this giant blade of grass. Imagine if grass was this big, that would be creepy. And then around his toes. I guess they call toes. Down the side of his little legs. And now I'll take a bigger brush to work on the background. I'm going to start from the top, really spread the paint around. You know, I think every once in a while you have to kind of do an easy painting to kind of build your confidence with how to maneuver the brush and how to spread your paint and not get globs of paint in different areas. So it doesn't always have to be an intricate painting or a complicated painting. Sometimes you just need to kind of practice on easier paintings like this of how to spread that paint. So remember, any questions about this painting, you can put them in the comments of this video here on YouTube, or you can also put them in the July Painting Retreat Facebook group, and that is the best way to for me to see them really and respond to them. So here is kind of finishing up with this turquoise color, or, well, Calypso Sky, but it looks very turquoise to me. Amazing how people see color differently, right? I'm just gonna kind of pick this up a little bit and take care of my sides. You know, one of the things that I've been meaning to comment on every time I do a painting video is that I'm right-handed, and I have my palette over to the left. And usually you want to put your palette of paint over to the same side as what hand you are using. So if you're right-handed, put it on the right. If you're left-handed, put it on the left. I do this when I'm doing a video because of how the camera is. But if I was painting without filming, I would be putting my my palette over to the right so that I could guide it with I could use my right hand to dip into the palette. So now I'm going to take some black and I'm going to work on Mr. Flamingo's beak and his eye, and I'm going to take some white and I'm going to work on his feather, this kind of line of a feather. So I've got an apple barrel black, I have an Arteza white, which isn't really my favorite because it's a little too thick, but it's here. So I'm just going to put in a white line here, kind of our accent line, and you can kind of see how this kind of does this type of thing to it. So there's our line for that. Then we have the eye, which she's asleep. This guy's asleep apparently. And then we have this part here that separates the beak. Now, if you notice, we have these feathers here, and they're outlined in a darker color. So I'm going to use this mulberry pink color, that's Arteza, to outline this part here. It's a little bit darker than what we have for the background. You could use red on this section also. And now I've got my black. The other thing that we're going to do is use some white. See how his legs kind of have like a white line down the middle? So let's put a white line down the middle of his legs. And I'm kind of holding my wrist here. And then we're going to make some lines going horizontal. And it just goes right to his feet like that. And then I'm just going to go like this. And then on the other side, the other leg, I'm putting them in between the two lines that I've created right there. I'll put another one right here. So now we are ready for our black outlines. First I'm going to outline my grass. I'm going to start with this side. The brush I'm using again is 10/0. So it definitely has a tiny brush to it. And I'm just using it as if I am writing. You could also use a Sharpie at this point, but the other thing you want to do is not press down. Start working on this guy's toes, just adding a little bit of some black lines in there for his toes. Come back down here with this grass. And what's cool about outlining something like this is that if you made a mistake and you went out of the lines for something, then this black outline will kind of correct it. So there's the bottom. Now, as we get towards the top, I'm going to start with his legs and make my way up. So just kind of dipping a little bit. Now, a flamingo's legs are delicate, but I don't really think they're not like straight like with a ruler. And now I'm going to go over the pink section of the flamingo with the black outline. I have a little bit of a mistake there, so I'm going to go back in with my Calypso Sky and fix that. So that's what's nice about either not mixing your colors or using colors on your palette that are not, that are still there, saving the palette maybe, if you wanted to go back and fix something, if you're not doing this in one sitting. I'm going to flip this painting around again so I can get to the top portion of the flamingo. I'm going to work on this middle area here first. And then his body here. Now, the next part we're going to do is the circles. The circles are simply made by adding white paint to your palette like this, in enough of an area that the cover is going to be able to pick up the paint. So what we're going to do is dip our paint, dip our cap, dip our paint, dip our cap, I don't know, upside down, right side up, into that paint. So we have paint on the whole rim of this cap. And then we're simply going to press down onto our canvas and put some random circles. Maybe put one so it's kind of off to the side like that, or here's another one that we can kind of put off to the side. You have to keep filling it up with paint though. You don't have to put as many, I mean, you can put as many as you want. I'll put one here, one here. And then we'll just go in and take a paintbrush and fill them in with white paint. You don't really want it to look like too much of a pattern, and you don't want to have too many. So that's enough. That's enough for me. So now I'm going to take a little bit more paint, make sure we have enough white paint here, and now fill in our spots, our circles of white. Now, this one doesn't have the whole circle there, so we want to make sure that we kind of paint it in. And I'm kind of like dabbing it because I almost want it to be like you can kind of see the paint and the texture of the paint on these circles. And I just kind of filled in that spot that was missing there. I'm not going to take the white and put it over the side of the painting, of the canvas. This brush that I'm using, I do not know the name of it because it's got, oh, golden maple. This is a sable hair brush. You can tell how the handle's a little bit different. It's supposed to be more ergonomically correct or comfortable, or I don't really necessarily feel that it is with that handle like that. Maybe if I was using it further down. Here's another one that kind of needs to be filled in a little bit. Now, at this point, You can determine, okay, well, do I need more paint anywhere? Well, maybe I do need to put a little bit more paint here on the flamingo itself. Just kind of fill in a few different areas now that I'm seeing how different it looks. But I also like the texture that is being created by this paint, by the coverage of this paint, because to me it's giving the illusion or the impression of feathers. So I really like the texture that's being created. And this painting is complete. So here's our example. Here's our finished product. I'm not going to go in and outline these circles. I'm going to leave them the way they are. At this point, you could add glitter to them, or if not, you could leave them the way they are. I didn't like how many circles I had on my first one, so I wanted to do something that had a little less, didn't have the same number of circles, so it looked a little bit different. So I hope you enjoyed today's painting. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video, or you can also put them in the comments in the Facebook group. Have a great day.